it wasn't something that I would have brought up otherwise. Like, that's not a suggestion that I'm normally like, I mean, I did bring it up. Was it yesterday? You said I was like, we could throw shit. And that's because it was kind of fresh. At some point,
we might. Hello, 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 and welcome to Well Shit. It really is that simple. I'm Claire.
And I'm Serena. On this podcast, we help you to understand about your 12 universal needs, why they are currently not being well met,
how to meet them in ways that work for you, and how to consistently do so in quick, easy, and simple ways that fit seamlessly into your life.
We'll also help you to understand how doing so will have a positive ripple effect in literally every area of your life.
If you like what you hear, sign up for more support with meeting your needs with your weekly Universal Needs notes at theuniversalneeds.com.
And enjoy the show.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hey, everyone.
I've just realized I've got a drunk niggle monster in the corner of my screen. Like he looks like he's had a couple.
He's just hot.
Yeah. Well, actually, that's what I was going to say. Like, if we look a little shinier than usual, we have some like technical difficulties at this end at the moment. Basically, the AC unit we use to keep the place cool while we're recording decided it doesn't want to work anymore. So,
yesterday the heat feel index was like 110.
Yes.
Like it's melty here.
It's like we're in the tropics and like you can't see it because we've tried to like we've like shut the blinds and everything, so we don't like we're not like bright sunshine 1 minute and then darkness the next. We're trying to balance out the light a little bit on these, but it's like we are in the heat of summer. Like I think that we had a heat warnings of like 115 last week. It's
the water temperatures in the 90s.
Yeah.
Getting
into the ocean is like getting into a hot tub. Like it's wild at the moment. So yeah, if we look a little warm and a little shiny, that's why.
We're glistening.
We're glowing with heat. So like literally what we're doing is we're hitting record, we're recording, we're hitting stop, we're throwing the AC units on to try and get it as cool as possible in between, and then we're turning it all back off again because the problem is the sound means there's like a low level buzz in the background if we don't turn the AC off. So we're having fun. And we are on episode number 2 of our What to Do When They're Not Okay series. So obviously last week we talked about like what to do when we're both not in an okay space. But what do you do when somebody's obviously not okay and you want to acknowledge that they're not okay and that you can see that they're not okay? But the obvious thing that most of us want to do is say, are you okay? But it's obvious they're not okay because you can see they're not okay. So asking, are you okay, seems like a really dense question. Mm-hmm. But also it can seem like you're being ignorant to where they're at and what they're going through. Like asking, are you okay, when somebody's obviously not okay can really cause some challenges. I'm aware of a situation. I wasn't actually present for this recently, but somebody told me about it, where they were at a family event, and this person has gone through that we're referring to, gone through like a lot of loss recently, and they were obviously upset. And like 3 different people at the event like asked, are you okay? Because that's, I think, culturally and societally the way that we're taught to show concern, but the response was barbed, to say the least. This is not somebody who is very good at communicating or maintaining good relationship bonds. But they basically were like, of course I'm not okay. What a stupid question sort of thing. And it's like, I don't know what to do because I want to, like, I can see you're not okay, but also I don't know how else to acknowledge that you're not okay other than to ask, are you okay? The other thing is that it can seem like if you're asking, are you okay, when you know that they are not okay, asking if they're okay actually can seem like you're being like ignorant to what exactly they've got going on. And that can actually negatively impact somebody's acknowledgement need. Whereas, because it's like, well, do you not see me? Do you not see what's going on right now? Of course I'm not okay. And the other thing is it can put them on the spot. Like, it can be like, well, no, I'm not okay, but I don't feel like this is the point to tell you that I'm not okay, or I'm not in a safe space, or I'm around other people, or I'm in a circumstance where I'm like, I don't know how, I don't want to address this right now. I don't want to talk about this right now. So it's like, what do you do? And it was interesting. Like, I think this came about because when, like, if you listen to the previous episode, we were sharing about the interesting situation that happened over the last couple of weeks. And one of the things we talked about was the fact that on the Sunday that we were going out on a boat day all together, and Serena and Joe came and picked me up. Now, Serena and I had our little moment in the house, and if you listen to the episode, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But I hadn't actually seen Joe since Larry passed. I texted him a couple of times, as we shared about the text I sent him on his birthday, and I sent him a couple of texts being like, hey, if there's anything I can do to support you, just let you know I'm here and I'm thinking about you and sending you love and what have you. But I hadn't actually seen him. And I got in the car and I basically was like, I know you're not okay right now, but I want to ask if you're okay. But I know you might not want to talk about it, so I'm not going to ask, but just know that I want to ask. And if you want to talk, I'm here. So yeah, that's me kind of asking without asking and acknowledging where you're at. And if you want to talk, that's fine. And it's interesting because I didn't expect Joe to share anything about how he was feeling or where he was at. But the interesting thing was, when I said that, he opened up a bit and he was like, well, this is where I'm at the moment. It's been a kind of rough week, but this is like, I'm doing okay with it. Like, I'm like, oh, cool. Like, and I felt like that asking, are you okay, without asking if you were okay thing, like, might be something that could be a helpful tool for people when you're in this situation. Because like you've come across this, like these situations where it's like, I want to ask, but I don't want to ask, but I want to ask, but I want to show that I'm supporting, but I don't know how to, like, it's
as
tough.
a person on the other side, like, you know, we were saying that society, the are you okay thing is like, it's almost like what you're supposed to do. And the response is, yeah, I'm fine. Or like, and that's
yes,
because unless you want to drag somebody into it, I don't want to burden you. I don't want to drag you into it. I don't want you to know about whatever it is. Sometimes it's easier to be like, yeah, I'm fine. Like,
right. Well, and I think that's like, it's like the two sides of the how are you, really, isn't it? Like, how are you is one of the things, and are you okay is the other thing. So it's like, how are you is like the general thing that we say, and it's funny. Like, my dad has a really funny way of dealing with this, because like there's a lot of this that is kind of social norms, and these are just like social like rules that have been created for like how we're meant to do things. But a lot of the time it's like, it's not really genuine. So it's like, a lot of the time someone will say, how are you? But they don't really mean how are you. They're just doing the polite thing that they're supposed to say.
Yeah. How are you is a rhetorical question.
Right. Exactly.
Because have you ever been like, I mean, I've been on, there was always a running, I don't know if it was a joke or a rule in my family. You never asked my yaya how she was doing unless you wanted an hour. The only person I ever knew that would be like, oh, well, you know,
yes,
this and this and this.
Yeah.
And it's like my friends, I'd be like, don't ask her how she is. Don't do it. They're like, I've never met, like, that's rude. And I'm like, don't do it. And they do it. And then I just walk away. I'm like, I didn't ask. I'm going downstairs. Yeah. Sorry. Have fun hearing about her toes for the next hour.
Well, and that's the thing, is that some people like do that. Like, and it's funny because like that the people almost find that offensive as well, because it's like, well, you weren't meant to ask. You weren't meant to give me the answer how you actually were.
Right. Like, and my grandmother wouldn't hold bar.
You're meant to just say I'm fine. Like, that's how this works. I say, how are you? You'll say I'm fine. You say, how are you? I say I'm fine. And we move on with our day. Like, that's how it's like. And it's so funny because my dad actually did like the opposite thing, where if somebody would ask how he was, he would just say, I'm wonderful. And people would be like, I don't know what to do with that, because it was like his way of kind of bucking the trend of like, well, I'm not going to say I'm fine. Like, that's like, do you really mean how are you? And like, it's kind of a funny thing. So I think that the how are you is that polite thing you're meant to say when you see somebody, but the are you okay is the polite thing you're meant to ask when somebody is not okay, which is really odd, because if you think about it, like, hold on a second. I know this person isn't okay. So I'm going to ask them to confirm that they're not okay, or I'm asking them to confirm that they are okay, so I don't have to then engage with actually supporting you. Like, there's so many like layers to this. I'm like, this is really odd. Like, this is just one of those things. And there's a lot of these things in our culture, in our society, where it's like, why the fuck do we do that? That just doesn't make any sense. And certainly from a needs point of view, it definitely doesn't support.
Yeah, it supported one person one time and somebody else was like, well, that's easy.
Well, no, what it did was it probably supported somebody one time with masking. And that's very, very culturally popular. Like, we don't want to know how somebody actually is. Just mask it so I don't have to deal with actually who, like, we don't have to connect on a humanity level. I can just pretend I'm fine and you can pretend you're fine and we can go about our business without actually creating any meaningful connection.
I mean, not that I love it, but like, the reaction, I throw people off all the time because I'm way beyond faking anything in my life. Where I'm at is where I'm at. And if you ask me how I'm doing and I'm in a shit space, I'd be like, pretty fucking shitty. How are you doing? And their faces, and it's like, because I'm like, I don't need any more conversation. You asked how I was doing.
Right.
Pretty fucking shitty. It can be the end. I'll tell you why it's pretty fucking shitty, maybe. But like, but their face, they're like, oh.
Well, now what do I do? Like, am I meant to fix? And that's the problem, is a lot of people in that situation.
Let me rescue.
Yeah. Do what we're going to talk about in the next episode, which is like, let me come in and fix it. And it's like, I don't need you to get out of it. I don't want you here fixing that. This is nothing to be fixed.
Yeah.
It's just how I'm feeling because of all the shit that's happened recently.
I'm honoring where I'm at, which is shitty right now.
And you ask, I'm going to tell you. Like, another one of my dadisms that like he would always say, don't ask the question if you don't want the answer. Like, I learned that as a teenager. If I asked him about my outfit, I would get his honest opinion on my outfit, no matter what it was. I learned to just not ask the question, because what I was actually doing in that was I was fishing for a compliment. Yep. Like, I was trying to use him as a tool to meet my needs. It was a really good way of learning. I'm not going to do that here. I'm going to, like, if I like how I look, that's really all that matters. Right. So I think that the are you okay is that other side of that kind of politeness coin. But actually it also it just tends to make things really awkward, because, as I said, if someone then says, actually, no, I'm not okay, well, then what?
Yeah. Are you, when you ask that question, you have to be prepared for either, it could be either side of the fence.
Right.
Like, you don't know what you're going to get. So,
and also it really pisses people off when you're like, yeah, things are amazing right now. Like, what? Like, you're not meant to say that. You're meant to say fine, and we're meant to move on with our life. This is how this works. Did no one give you the manual? And it's like, okay. Because people, like, again, like, it's like people don't want to necessarily hear someone's having an amazing time. Because if they're not having an amazing time, they're just doing the polite thing. They're not actually wanting to engage in the conversation.
Wait, before you go on,
ahead.
Before I forget this, come back to me. So this really doesn't have anything to do with what we're talking about, but it has to do with what we're specifically talking about now, not as the whole. So excuse my little tangent for a minute. But when somebody asks, how are you doing? And that's the space, like, maybe you've been like, this is taking care of my own needs for myself and giving myself what I need, asking for what I need, all of that. Somebody asks, oh, how are you doing? Are you okay? And I'm like, no, actually, I'm not. And I'm using that as the invitation. I need to vent this out. You've asked. I feel, safe enough to do it. And then you're explaining all this stuff that's going on, good, bad, or otherwise. And they're like, like, totally, like,
because you didn't actually want to know the answer. Yeah.
Like, and then it's like, well, fuck, just don't ask. Like, wave and smile. We don't have to talk.
like hi, what are you doing today? Like, there's other questions you can ask. You can still engage in conversation without going to that place if you don't have the capacity, don't have the interest. And the cool thing about this is that if you do genuinely ask the question and you genuinely want to know the answer, like, I can't tell you the number of people where, like, it's funny because I think that this trend of, like, being more honest about what the answer is starting to catch on. More people, and depending on your level of proximity and how close your relationship is, like, some people will be like, Like, I will have people like, yeah, they're not great. And then they'll apologize, like, sorry. And I'm like, no, I asked the question because I wanted the honest answer. You don't have to put on any airs and graces with me. If you're not great, like, do you want to talk about it? Like, or do you want to just want to hang out and spend some time together? Do you want to just be distracted from it for a bit so that you can build your capacity to then go back and deal with it? Like, but I think that it's interesting how many people now, there are people I know who are like, yeah, it's not great. And I'm like, cool. Like, thanks for letting me know. Not cool as in, I'm glad it's not great, but like, thank you for being honest. Like, I appreciate that honesty. And I really, I just realized that sounded really bad. I'm not great. Cool. Like, we actually had a conversation about that just recently. But like about an entirely different conversation, a different topic regarding different people. But yeah, but like what I mean is like, thank you for being real. Because I think so much of our society is performative and masking.
And if you get into a situation where you ask the question, are you okay? And you genuinely want to know, and then it's too much. And you're like, it's like, wow, I didn't realize all that was going on. Like, maybe you don't have the capacity at all.
I hear you.
I hear you. And maybe you're like, I don't have the capacity right now, but I'd love to help this right now. I'm not in a space where I can. Please, like, you can support without jumping in, and you can support without having to take it on. Yeah. And let them know, be like, wow, that's like, there are people that I just saw this week and I told about Larry, and they're like, oh wow, like, can I do anything? And it's like, no, I'm okay. Or they're just like, wow, like, that's a lot. And I'm like,
yeah. Yes. That's a lot. But even that, it's just an acknowledgement. Like so often I think when we find out that somebody else is not in a good space, like, we feel like we have to fix that rather than recognizing, and we'll get into more of the, like, how do you support without jumping into rescuer in the next episode. So we're going to share more of this there. But like, just letting somebody know that it's like I hear you. Wow, that's a lot. I can't imagine how that must feel. Like, there's an acknowledgement in that. That is supportive. You don't have to fix it. And chances are you probably can't fix it. Some of it, like, what's been going on with Serena and Joe? I can't fix it. I can't make it better. I can't stop. And in fact, if I try to fix it, I actually block their healing process. So it actually makes things shitty for them for longer.
Or you can impact more. I had a couple of friends who went the total wrong approach with it. Yeah. And I was like, wow, like, I know that they were trying to help, but wow, you fucked me off even more. Thanks. Like, it was because they wanted to help, because they were trying to fix it. They were trying to make it better, and they weren't listening.
They were trying to cheer you up.
Yep. And they weren't listening to where I was at, because I was very open about, like, no, I'm not ready to be around cats. I'm not like all of the things. And it was just like impact over intent.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. So I think that the thing about it is that we have to realize, and I think that that's where the next episode will come in, what support actually looks like. And support doesn't necessarily mean taking it on. It doesn't mean that you have to necessarily do anything. Just saying, wow, that's really difficult. Like, I'm here for you. Like, that's it. Like, I hear you. Or I can't imagine how that must be feeling right now for you. Like, those are things that you can do that are supportive. We'll share a little bit more in the next episode. But I really thought it would be very helpful, or it could be helpful. I know that this is something at one point that would have been really helpful for me if somebody else had told me about it, because I didn't know any of this. Like, nobody taught me this. To have some different options, some different approaches, and things that you can say when it is obvious that somebody is not okay, without defaulting to this, are you okay? Like, which is obviously not the case. Like, it's obvious that they're not okay. If someone's sobbing on I've been there. I had a situation many years ago. If you followed my earlier brands, you may have seen me talking about the stranger on the train, where I literally just burst into tears on the train. I was sobbing my heart out, and this random stranger said, like, I'm so sorry. Like, I can't sit here and watch you cry. Do you mind if I sit and just talk shit at you for the rest of the journey? And I was like, actually, that would be really nice. Thank you. Like, I've been like, but if he came up to me and went, are you okay? Well, what do you think? What about this says okay? It wasn't, there you go. There's another option that I hadn't put on the list. Like, I'm like finding it difficult watching you cry. Can I talk shit at you to distract you? Like, it's a valid option. I mean, not necessarily the one we want to take. But I just thought it would be really helpful to have some options of things that you could say in those situations. So the first one is, now, it's really important. Like, we're going to, at the end of this, we're going to help you to figure out which one of these is going to be the best one for you. One thing that's really important to really be mindful of in which of these you choose is, what is your capacity? Like, where is your capacity at? If you don't have the capacity to listen to someone talk to you about their problems, don't offer that, because you're not going to, chances are you're going to check out, you're going to not be present with them, that it may end up with them feeling more alone than if you hadn't asked or offered in the first place. So there are options that do not require you to have a huge amount of capacity. So just to be clear. But this one is like, be mindful if you have the capacity for it. The first one is preface it. The answer no is perfectly okay. You say that before you say anything, because you want to take the pressure off this person, especially if they're going through some stuff. The answer no is perfectly okay. I just wanted to check in. Do you want to talk about it? There. And if the person says, yeah, okay, go ahead. Like, what's going on right now? If the answer's no, cool. Just wanted to let you know I'm here if you do want to talk about it.
And it's very important in these situations, especially when somebody's in the shit, to ask questions, ask what they want, because 99% of the time I know what works for Claire. Mm-hmm. Even when I know that it's what she wants, I'll still ask, like, a hug. We're going to get to that one. Like, 99% of the time, like, that's my go-to. But it's like, do you want a hug? Because there have been times she's like, nope, not right now.
Yep.
But if I had gone in, like, the chances of her pushing me off of her are like, she probably, I don't know about me. Like, our relationship's a little different, but like most people would be like, oh, okay, like now I'm really I don't want to be in a hug. Like, oh, the energy, like whatever it is, just ask. Because that gives options, which then enacts your personal power. And this is like, I'm getting into the stuff for the next episode, but it's present right now. Like, you have to be mindful. Who are you doing this for? Mm-hmm. Are you doing this for the other person, or are you doing it to feel better about yourself? Look at how good of a friend I am.
Yes. Look, I'm making things better by hugging them. I want a hug. Look, this is supportive. Mm-hmm. I don't want to hug. Get off me. Like in that situation, there are people who do not want to be hugged. Mm-hmm. There are people who do not want to be touched. Now, even somebody who likes to be hugged, which is me, like there are going to be times where I'm like, I don't really want to. And I'm like there have been times where Serena literally came to hug me and I'm like, nope, I can't do that right now. Like, nothing against her. Mm-hmm. I'm just not in that space. And I have said that. Like, I mean, we're good at communicating what's present for us. But so we'll get into more of that in the next episode. But it is really important to be mindful of, who is this for? And if it is for the other person, it has to feel supportive for the other person. Otherwise, it's not support. It's you trying to feel like you're supporting so you can feel good about yourself.
And because you don't necessarily know what's going to meet somebody else's needs in that moment for right there, because I know Claire probably better than anybody in the world. I still don't know how to meet her needs for her in any given moment, because what works 99% of the time might not work this time, like vice versa. So it's very, 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 very important.
Like, shit.
Yeah.
Well, shit. Sometimes it's not that simple. Not in terms of meeting somebody else's needs. Yeah. Meeting your own tends to be quite simple. Might take some effort, but it tends to be simple. Meeting other people's, that's where it gets messy. Something that you want to take the next one, and because I know this is something that you say quite frequently with people.
One of the things I always ask, is there anything I can do to help support you if I'm in the space to give support? I do not say this if I am not in a space where I don't have the capacity, because my support, if I'm not resourced myself, is it might be better than nothing for them, but it will certainly not be that way for me, because it's going to deplete me further. Then when I'm done supporting them, I go back and I'm like, well, fuck, I have nothing for myself. But just having that option, like, I mean, Claire, this is one that we interchange with each other. Like, is there anything I can do to support you? Because sometimes it's just, no, but it's nice to know that there's somebody offering. If I'm like, can you send me a little bit of love? You know, can I come get a hug? Can it be this? Or it's just, it's somebody gives a shit. Cool.
Well, and the other thing is that if the other person is in that not okay space, depending on what kind of not okay space they're in, they may not know what it exactly is that they need in terms of support. So the addition you can make to this, is there anything I can do to support you right now, is to come up with options. Like, of things that are within your capacity. Like, I could do this, I could do this, I could do this, I could do this. Like, I said to Serena, like, when all the Larry stuff went down, I'm like, if there's anything I can do to support you, and I know she's pretty good at knowing what is helpful in terms of support, even when she's in the hole. But I was like, if you want me to go grocery shopping, if you want me to make some food for you, like, I was coming up with things that she might not necessarily think of. And in that moment, she'd be like, oh, actually, that would be really helpful. Like, there was a moment last week where I happened to be I was at the grocery store stupidly early in the morning because I was awake early and had some stuff I need, like some bits I need to pick up. I sent her a message. I was like, is there anything you need from the grocery store? I'm here right now. And she was like, actually, yeah, that would be really helpful. I need something for tonight. And if I don't have to go to the grocery store, even better. Like,
or even like when you offer the food, like, I love cooking. That's one of the things that is a distraction, like crafts for me. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to cook something. And there was one night we were sitting there and we're like, what are we going to eat? And both Joe and I were like, meh. And I was like, well, you know, Claire and one of our other friends have offered to cook, pick up food, drop off stuff. I'm like, if we wanted to, we could call them. And we decided not to, but it was an option that we got to consider. And we're like, that would have been really helpful if we had decided that's what we wanted to do at that point. So just having that offer there, like, it wasn't in the moment. In the moment, I was like, no, I'm good. But
But actually, and it's like the options are the things that sometimes, because so often, like, when somebody's in the hole, it's like, I don't know what I need right now. I don't know what I want right now. Like, especially if you haven't gone through the needs work. Like, even like us, like, I'm like, I know I need this right now. Don't really know which way I want to do it. Normally means I need to go to bed and rest, generally speaking. But like, having those ideas, that is a form of support you can offer. Is like, what are the options that you can provide so that they can choose from the options, so they don't have to figure out for themselves. Like, well, and we're not
talking rapid fire ideas either. I've had that too, where somebody's like, what about this? And I'm like, and narrow it down to 2.
Right. Absolutely. It's like finding that balance point between the two. And it's like, maybe you look at topics of options where it's like, I could help, like, if you need stuff to do with like food, if you need stuff to do with housework, if you need stuff to do, if you need errands running, like you can, like, big picture options to save from that scattergun approach where it's like, oh, like, there's so many different options coming at me right now.
And if you're doing something like Claire said, she was at the grocery store. Do you need me to pick anything up? I'm like, well, that's not really putting her out any, because she's at the grocery store already. So it wasn't, because there's a lot of times when somebody offers something to you, it's like you feel like, oh, I wouldn't want to burden them, even if you're like, I'm starving and I can't feed myself.
If they offer, they're happy to give it. Just saying. Just saying.
Usually, yeah.
Well, in this kind of relationship, when you kind of create, when you kind of create this relationship, I'm never going to offer anything that I'm not willing to give. So if I'm like, and I know that will require sometimes, if I'm sat on my couch, hanging out for the night, all settled in, and Serena's like, hey, would you mind going grabbing food for us? I know I've offered that, knowing in that situation, I'm like, sure. Like, it's not a burden in that point, because I've offered it because I'm willing to do that.
Right. And then she can come up with options that work for her in that moment. Actually, you know what? I'm not getting off this couch. Hey, I'm going to order you Chinese. What do you want? Like,
or I'm going to Instacart the stuff to you. Just like, you know what I mean? Like, there's options. And I mean, coming from the UK, I didn't even know what Instacart was because we don't have it over there. Like, there's a difference between ordering shopping online, which is what we do in the UK, and Instacarting, where there are people who will literally just pop to the grocery store and throw like whatever the couple of things are that you've like asked for your way. Like, that's amazing. Like, it's like a whole new world. I'm a whole new world. Like the other animated movie songs are available. Before I start getting into like some kind of copyright issue, no, like, you know what I mean? Like, it was like, I'm like, oh my goodness, because like, that's what somebody offered for me once. Like, I was in a place and they're like, let me just Instacart you the stuff. I'm like, wait, what? you can do that. Like there are people that do that. That's amazing. But I could be that Instacart where it's like, I'm like, okay, yeah, just tell me what you need. I'm going to go to the grocery store now. And even though there might have been a time where I'm like, oh God, I'm so relaxed and I'm chilled right now and I don't want to get up. When someone you know is going through it and that's the thing that could help them, I'm like, I want to get up because I want to support them right now. And if that's the thing I can do that will make it feel just a little less shitty in this moment, man, am I going to do that every day of the week and twice on Sundays. So the next option is the one that I kind of used when I met up with Joe, which is like that whole, I want to ask, are you okay? But I know that you're not. And I know you might not want to talk about it. So I'm not going to ask. So I don't want to put you on the spot. But no, I want to. And if you want to talk about it, I'm here. Kind of lengthy. But what it does is it shows all the different elements. Like, I want to ask. I don't want to put you on the spot. I know you might not want to talk about it. So I'm not going to ask. But I'm letting you know I do want to ask. And if you want to share, you're welcome to share. But you don't have to share. Like that kind of, it's a more... around the houses way of saying it. But what it does is it provides that level of safety and reassurance. Like there's no pressure here. I'm like, and even that, and that's like the response to that could just been, thank you. Like they may not have said anything more. As it turned out, Joe did in this situation. But a lot of the time people would just be like, thanks. Cool. Like I appreciate the fact. And there's often that, thank you for just getting it right now. Like that, it really is often supportive of somebody's value need in that moment of like, oh, I feel seen.
That's one of the things in all of the deaths that I've experienced. Like people, oh, I'm so sorry for your loss. I'm so sorry for your loss. And the first time somebody came up to me, I think it was probably my mom's funeral. And they were like, this fucking sucks. I'm like, yes,
thank you.
Thank you. Like I know it. And I'm sorry for your loss. It's another kind of culturally accepted way to say it. Like there's very few people that are like, oh, well, they're gone. Yeah, I kind of, that comes with the territory. You're here. Like, but like somebody being like,
just
this
real
fucking sucks. Like, this is bullshit. And I'm like, yeah, this is fucking bullshit, isn't it? And then it's like, yeah, it is. Okay.
And there are some people like Serena that would be like, someone coming up to the funeral going, this sucks, it's fucking bullshit, would be like, yes. And somebody else is going to be like, what the fuck? Why are you saying that to me? So it's like, again, person specific. Know your audience. Know who you're talking to. Know what is going to have them feel acknowledged because of you learning. Like a relationship is about learning the other person. And like at some point, I feel like we're going to do like a series on how to create really supportive relationship, because like I've done this with Serena, I've done this with my other best friend Sharona, like we have created together because we wanted to learn about the other person. We wanted to learn, like I like Serena and I are opposite, generally speaking, when shit's going down. Like when shit's going down, Serena tends to want space. When shit's going down, I tend to want people to show up. Like we've learned that about each other just through our friendship. Like that's how we know how to show up for each other, because we've learned about each other. And the more you've learned about each other, and it could even just be like, hey, I know you normally need space in this situation, but I'm also letting you know if you want me to show up, just call, I'll be there. Like that. Again, like it's not like definitive, like, oh, you're the need space girl, so I'm always going to give you space.
And it's also like an acknowledgement. Like I said, I was really, not that I should be surprised because my people have always kind of followed this, but it was very notable because I think it was actually spoken like, hey, I get that we're probably not going to hear from you for a bit. And it's like, thank you. Yes. Like it takes away that pressure. Like, oh, I have to update them because obviously my people want to know what's going on and they want to be able to support me if I need it. And they want to be respectful, which, and there are times when, especially in a funeral situation, you may not know all the people that you want to give support to. Yeah. Sometimes just a hand. If
appropriate. And if that's going to work for them. And
yeah. Like, and that's another, like, it doesn't have to be. It can be an acknowledge, like a just.
Sometimes it can just be a look.
Yeah, a look, a smile.
Like I feel you. I get it. I'm here.
Like I've done that before with people I don't know that I see, like situations when I'm out and it's just I'll make eye contact, put my hand like kind of on my chest and like just acknowledge, like, my heart's going out to you. Like, I don't know you, but I see this, like.
Absolutely. So the next option, Serena's special.
Do you need some space?
like sometimes people find it really difficult to take the space that they need. It's really
to ask for it, too.
Right. And because like they feel like they are, like we talked about it in the last episode, where it's like, well, I feel like I should still be there for my people, even though what I need is space right now. As long as you communicate that, that's fine. But the thing that can be even more supportive is the person who you think is going to need space. Like, as I said, any other time last week, I would have said to Serena, why don't you take the week? Take the week. If you want to come into work, text me that you want to meet up and do some of the stuff we have planned. Great. But take the week. Like, take the pressure off yourself. Take the space. Have all the space that you need. And if you get to the point where you don't need space anymore, let me know you don't need space and then we can do something different. But I know that like, what was really interesting was, although there was a miscommunication over what exactly was being said, one of the things that Serena said to me was, thank you for telling me it's okay that we navigate the rest of the week like this, because I said to take the pressure off, why don't we navigate each day like this? And what she said to me was, I didn't realize there was pressure there until you said that.
Because we have a lot to do, and I wanted to get it done. Like, I wanted to work, and I was like, okay, I can do this. I want to do this, but is this what I need? And it's like, no, I need to feel this as the intensity that it's at right now, and I want to give my work my wholeness. I want to give this, like, everything. So it was amazing when she said, I was like, oh, shit. Like, wow, there was a pressure there I hadn't even thought about, the pressures that I was experiencing in the hole with the puddle and like.
And I made it as a suggestion, but that could have just as easily been phrased as a question. I could have been like, do you want to do the rest of the week this way as well? Like, because I know Serena pretty well, that was the reason I made it a suggestion. Like, why don't we? It wasn't like we're going to do the rest of the week this way. I wasn't telling her what to do. It was like, why don't I suggest this is what we do? And it still gives her space to be like, actually, no, I don't want to do that. Perfectly fine. But I went with like what I felt was going to be the most likely option. And I made the suggestion and she was like, oh, like, thank God. I felt the pressure released. Now, obviously, there were other things that kind of happened in terms of that miscommunication, but just that recognition and knowing that that's what was, and offering that in that moment was what felt supportive to somebody who wasn't feeling okay. My special, would you like a hug? Like, would you like a hug? Like, again, that 99.99999% of the time, I'm going to say yes. Like, there were times, like, I think might have even been yesterday or the day before.
Yesterday.
Where, I was like, I gave Serena a look and she was like, do you need a hug? And I was like, or do you want a hug? And I'm like, not right now. If you hug me right now, I'm going to break. And I don't want to do that right this second. I'm happy to do that. And I did do that. Once I felt like I had the space and I was in the space to be able to do that, like I actually resourced myself better to be able to be like, this is what's going on right now. But that asking, it gives you that permission to check in rather than just being like, so many people just hug somebody. Like, I remember being at an event years ago. I was a keynote speaker at like a women's community event in London. And the person who was leading that community was going through a journey with cancer, and she was going through treatments and everything. And she was sharing what was up, like what was going on and how she was feeling. And there was this person there who was like, it came with good intention. I understand where it came from, who just kept hugging her. And I'm like everything in my body was like, stop hugging her. She doesn't need to be hugged right now. I can feel it coming off of her. She doesn't want to be hugged. And like this person looked at me, and I remember all I did was I just put my hand on top of hers and I just looked her in the eye. And like she kept sharing, and I was acknowledging her just with how I was looking. And I'm like, yeah, I'm here. I get it. Like, and that But the hug was this other person trying to feel good about the fact that she was supporting this person, not what was feeling supportive to the person who needed the support in that moment.
I can't tell you how many times people have given me hugs where I'm like barely holding it together, and then they're the straw that broke the camel's back. Like, then you're just a puddle. And it's like, I didn't want this. I didn't want to be a puddle. Like, for whatever reason.
I'm not in a space where I feel safe to be in a puddle. Like,
and people will get offended when you're like, no, I don't want a hug. It's like that. It's not. Remember, if you're offering and the person on the other side who's in the shit is like, that doesn't work for me, that has nothing to do with you. It's where they're at.
And the offer of the hug is not about you.
Right.
Like, it's not about you in that moment. You're there in support of this other person. If you feel bad, if someone doesn't want to accept the support you're offering, that's because deep down underneath it, you're trying to meet your needs through what you are doing. It's not purely about the other person. I can offer Serena a hug, and if she says no, I can feel disappointed because I don't know, like, there's nothing else I can do. Like I can feel my feelings about that. I can feel disappointed that I can't support her, that there's nothing I can do. And that's the point where I'm like, oh, hold on a second. No, I can. I'm here. Like I look for like, what can I support her with in that moment so that she gets supported. But if I'm making her rejecting a hug about me, then I'm like, my focus is in the wrong place right now. I'm focused on how I feel about what she wants to do with the support I want to offer. Fuck off.
Take my support.
Like that, and that's like an internal thing. I'm kind of saying to myself, like, Claire, what are you doing? This is not about you in this moment. This is about her and what does she need right now. And actually, contrarily, what I found is really interesting about the two of us is that when we offer support and that support isn't welcome, a lot of the time the response we will say is, thank you for letting me know. Like, not just, what do you mean you don't want a hug from me? It's like, thank you for telling me. Like, I want to support you right now. And if that's not supportive, I don't want to do something that's not supportive. Is there anything else I can do? Would this, or this help? Like, you can use these things. Like, it's not like one and done. It's like, do you want a hug? No. Okay, bye. I mean,
I offered the hug.
Check. So it's like, you can be like, okay, do you need some, like, offer the hug? No. Do you need some space? Well, no, not really. Is there anything I can do to support you right now? Can I get you some food? Can I get you a drink? Would you like to talk about it? Like, you can use these in like different formations. Like, it doesn't have to be just one and done.
During the Larry situation, Joe he doesn't really have a strong temperament, I'd say. Like, he's pretty even keeled. And so there was at one point, he's like, I just feel angry, like I just want to break shit. And I was like, or something along those lines. And I've done that before. And it is very therapeutic if you're doing it safely and, you know, in the space that it's appropriate. So I went to the thrift store and I bought him a bunch of like 50-cent plates and whatnot. And just brought them home and I put them down and I was like, hey, if you're still feeling angry, like, that is a totally valid feeling. This has helped me in the past. Told him what it was, put them down in the corner. They're still there. He never felt the need to use them, but he was like, thank you. Like, and it wasn't, I never asked again. Like, it was just like, here's an option for you.
Right.
There you go. And it wasn't something that I would have brought up otherwise. Like, that's not a suggestion that I'm normally like, I mean, I did bring it up. Was it yesterday? You said I was like, we could throw shit. And that's because it was kind of fresh. At some point,
we might.
But like, in that situation, I'm like, okay, how do I process this? And I know that not everything that works for me is going to work for someone else. But in that situation, I was like, here's at least an option. He can say no. And if he says no, okay. Like, fine.
Yeah. Absolutely. Another option, and this is like, it's something like this one, you have to be kind of mindful in how you deliver it, which is that like, it's okay to offer a distraction to somebody because sometimes that can be helpful. But it's really important to offer that in concert with something that acknowledges what's going on as well. Like you don't want to be seen to be like, well, do you want a distraction? As in like, I don't want to deal with whatever it is you've got going on, but I'm happy to distract you. If you say like in this situation, you maybe would be like, do you want to talk about it or do you want a distraction? Like, so you're giving them the option of like, what supports you best at this moment in time with what you've got going on? Because as we talked about in the grief series, sometimes you need to distract from it just momentarily to build your capacity and resource to be able to continue to deal with whatever the thing is that you've got going on at that moment in time. So being part of a distraction is okay, but what you don't want to do is to seem like you're invalidating or ignoring or avoiding what they've got going on by only offering the distraction. Like if I was going to say, if Serena told me like all this, like if Serena told me about the fact that Larry had passed and the first thing out of my mouth was, do you want a distraction? Like, that's probably not going to land well.
Right.
Like offering that, like, I don't know where you're at right now. I don't know what you need most right now. Do you want to talk about it? Do you want a distraction? Do you like, there's like offering options, but I think that this one in particular has to be offered in concert with something which is honoring what is going on. And then like the last option is like basically throwing out the options. Like it's basically, I can see that you're not okay. I just want you to know I'm here if you want to talk, if you want a hug, if you want a distraction, someone to be here with you while you're not okay. You want me to do grocery shopping. Like it's basically like, I don't know.
It's the spaghetti on the wall option.
Yeah, exactly.
Just throw it all out there. Here it is. Take it, leave it. Comment, don't comment.
And if
like just
all the noodles end up on the floor, that's okay too.
I actually have two more that aren't on here. One of them we had said earlier when it comes up, just simply, I hear you. Mm-hmm. I hear you. Just witnessing somebody. No.
I think that belongs in our next episode. Because that's not what to say when you want to ask, are you okay? Because at that point, they haven't shared it yet.
Fair enough.
If they are sharing, I mean, if someone shares, I've got all this shit going on, and at the end of it, your response is, are you okay? Like, yeah. Did you just listen to me? Did you listen to what's going on? Like, I absolutely, that is in the notes for our next episode. I'm 99.999% sure about it. But I think that's a slightly different situation.
So we're going to save that other one in my head for the next episode where it probably belongs to.
Okay. And this is the thing, like all of this series is about how do you support someone. That's why there's like a little overlap where it's like, it's very hard to sometimes just focus on like, what's this narrow piece of this thing? Because we're always
you could have hard stopped it. It's a little earlier. Sometimes it's really hard to focus.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And because as we're talking, things are coming up and we're like, oh, remember this, and this is relevant to this, and this is relevant to this, because it's all relevant to this, because it's all relevant to supporting people when they're going through the stuff. So I think that we'll kind of pause those for the next episode. And what Serena's offered is absolutely valid and important ways of supporting somebody. I just don't want people to get confused if they're coming for this particular thing and be like, wait, how does that work? Anyway, the other thing that is really helpful is like, how do you know which one of these to use?
Because it's not it's not a checklist.
No. And some people, like if Serena said to me when I was in the shit, do you need some space right now? That, like, she knows me well enough to know that's unlikely to be what I actually need right now. Like, likewise, if Serena's going through this shit and I'm like, do you want me to come over? Do you want me to do that? Like, if I started bombarding her with stuff, she'd be like, Claire, come on, you know me better than that. So, like, depending on, like, you don't want to give all of these in all circumstances. These are just some options. And these are just some of the options. They're not all of the options that are available by any stretch of the imagination. As we spoke about at the beginning, the first thing is, like, generally, like, you want to go with your gut in these things because moment by moment, like, there are moments when I do want space.
Yep.
And there are times when Serena can sense that and she's like, do you need some space right now? And I'm like, just give me a second. And I go off and I have my little space and then I come back and I'm like, okay, now, because normally that space is I need to process some stuff. I need to breathe. I need to resource myself so I don't lose my shit on you about something that's got nothing to do with you, because this is my stuff to process, not about you or us or what have you. The first thing that's most important is, where is your capacity?
Like, and not pour from an empty cup. Plain and simple.
That. Don't offer support that you do not have the capacity to provide, because chances are it won't feel supportive.
And what we'll get into in the next episode is some of those options.
Yes.
How you can offer that without
jumping
in.
Exactly. The other thing is like, be mindful about like, what do you know of the person? Like, what have you learned about them through being in relationship with them? Like, how well do you know them? And what do you know that they tend to want? Like, Serena said it. All her people were like, oh, we're probably not going to hear from you in a few days. Just that, it's okay. We're good. Just let us know you're okay when you got the capacity to do so. Because people know her. Like, that shows there's that validation in there. There's that acknowledgement. There's that I'm being seen for who I am and for what I need. And I have people around me who understand me, and they understand what feels supportive to me.
And a big part of that is also me being upfront with the fact, like, recovering rescuer, we've talked about this many times, and we are definitely going to get into it in the next episode. But coming to people's rescue and being rescued is something that's a dynamic that I was very familiar with in my life. And now for me to be like, you know what, I just need like, I know you want to support, I need space. Like, because it started where I didn't know how to, so I'd just ghost people. Like, I'd go radio silence with nothing. And then it got to the point, it's like, no, like, I need to do this on my own. I need to process. I need to be alone. And then it's just kind of become over the years, like, for my people.
Well, also you need to trust that when you say I want space, that people are going to honor that.
Yeah.
Like, I think there was a big part that you didn't know that you could ask for space.
Yeah.
And that was okay. And that someone was going to be like, okay, cool. If you need space, just so you know. And that's what I know Serena is a space person generally when stuff is going down. And I'm going to be, and I say to her, just so you know, I'm going to send you messages just so you know that I'm here and I'm sending you love and I'm thinking about you. No pressure to respond. And every message I sent that was of that ilk started with some form of no pressure. No, you don't need to respond to this. I'm just letting you know I'm here in case that's what you need in this moment in time. And if you don't need it, then ignore this message and come back to it as and when you do.
And I've told friends too, one of the hardest things is I can't, like, you need to stop messaging me. Like, I like the messages are just too much. Like, I appreciate the support, but like
they're creating overwhelm.
Yeah, like I'm overwhelmed. Like, I'll let you know when I'm back on type of deal.
Yeah, absolutely. So like figuring out which option feels right based on your capacity, based on what you know of the person, and based on what feels right in this moment. Like, most of the time, like, Serena didn't even know I had, like, well, she knew I had a little bit of stuff going on based on the text message. But that Sunday where she came in, like, she was like, I feel like I need to go in right now. Like, any other day of the week, she'd be like, I'm here. I'm like, cool, I'm getting my stuff. I'll be out in a second. In that moment, she went with what felt right. And the same is true with these questions. Like, if you're dealing with somebody that is maybe a little prickly, maybe doesn't know how to deal with these situations, like, being able to say to somebody like I can see that you're not okay. I just want you to know I'm here. Like, there's a combination of what we're talking about in this episode and what we're going to be talking about in the next episode. You can bring those in as alternatives. Like, I can see this is where you're at right now. And the subtext is, I don't know how to deal with this. I don't know what you need. I don't know. I just want you to know I'm here. That can be a way of, I don't have capacity to offer you more than this right now. I don't trust how you're going to respond to this right now because the personality that you are and how you've behaved in the past. So I'm going to respond this way. So I don't have to ask. You don't have to answer. I'm letting you know that I'm here. And then that person may be like, well, actually, I could really like to talk about it. Would can I talk about this? Can we talk about this? I'm like, oh, sure. Like, or I have the capacity right now, but maybe like, I'll check in with you tomorrow because I think I'll probably and you can go build a resource and have and then have the capacity to be able to talk and have that conversation. This is not a one size fits all, and there's not a formula to it, but like trusting this combination of your knowledge, your capacity, and it's in your knowledge of them, the capacity, and what feels right in the moment. Trust what happens when the blue book goes the wrong way. Excuse me. I think that I've got blueberries like in my smoothie, and I think one, like, literally as I inhaled, it just went straight to the back of my throat. Okay. That is, in my experience, and that is in our experience, the best way to find what is going to be the best fit in that moment. Anything you want to add to this before we move on?
Nope, I'm good.
Very short episode that wasn't that short.
Shorter.
It was shorter than the last one. We'll take that. But come and join us next week, because next week is when we're going to really kind of get into this. How do you support somebody without becoming a rescuer? Because that rescuer dynamic, we've talked about the triangle episodes for a long time. We're going to share on the next episode why we haven't shared about the triangle episodes yet, because there was something we didn't know. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, that's why we haven't done that podcast episode yet. So we're going to get into that next episode, because when you get into that, it's not good for the other person. It's not good for you. And generally it causes more challenges than it helps. So do come back and join us next week for that. But in the meantime, remember to take care of yourself, stay safe, and between now and next time, to continue to meet your own needs. Lots of love. Bye.
Bye, friends.
That's it for today.
If you like what you heard
and would like to see some of Serena's awesome facial expressions,
check out the video podcast on YouTube.
And remember, it's okay not to ask, are you okay? When somebody is obviously not okay.
Well, shit. It really is that simple.